know when you go your whole life disinterested in something, only to try it out on a whim and discover that what you were ignoring was something brain-altering and awesome. That was me with Halo. So, for the past year, I've been checking out Halo. Haven't gone my whole life not being interested in the Halo series. I missed out on the classics like Combat Evolved, Halo 2, and 3. In fact, I was barely a protozoa when Combat Evolved came out. When I got the Master Chief Collection for cheap in a Steam sale, I, played through the entire Bungie saga. And oh boy, I was missing out big time. Now I've been eating up Halo media like Squidward after he had his first Krabby Patty And now I have to put my brain rot for this franchise somewhere else, otherwise I'll just be playing Cursed Halo right now and not doing anything productive. I think one of the biggest draws for me that I missed the first time around was the stellar art direction, especially that of the original Bungie games, and the works of Marcus Leto, Shi Kai Wang, Eddie Smith, Robert McLeese, and the other artists that worked on the original saga. The best way I could describe the original art style was Y2K Colonial Marines, or better yet, Starship Troopers if they were a 90s OVA. The blend of anime aesthetics with military realism with influences from Gundam, Bubblegum Crisis, and Patlabor, all series I love. Patlabor 3 is underrated and I'll die on that hill, was the thing that drew me in greatly as a designer. And with Campaign Evolved, the remake of the first Halo game that released just 2 weeks ago, by the time I'm recording this, I wanted to make a video. Today I will design 3 different game characters as Spartans. We are starting off with the classic. Alright, let's start with the big motherfucker himself, the Doom Slayer, or as he is known here, Flynn 666. The name being a reference to Flynn Taggart, the name of the Doom guy from the novels. That, as of Doom Eternal and the Dark Ages Revelation DLC, has been canonized as the Doom Slayer's name. And of course 666 is self-explanatory. For the design work, I reference a wide selection of art and designs for the Slayer. From his original box art design to the Quake 3 and Champions models, and finally Eternal's Praetor suit design. For the actual Mjolnir. For the actual Mjolnir design, I decided to aim for a mix between Halo Infinite and Halo 2 in terms of detail in the design. Having enough panel lining and mechanical design to where the armor feels tactile and manufactured, but not overbloated with design like how I feel the Halo 4 and 5 armors could be. And also, the more mindful use of detail helps me in terms of art as well. I love designing stuff like this, but I honestly rather solve the element configuration than draw any of the shit from Halo 4 and 5. I looked through all the different helmet and body armor designs for the Gen 1 Mjolnir armors, picking out what I feel fits the bill the most. First off, I always design the head or helmet of the character I'm working on first, and design the body around the head. And for the head, I used the Ardent style helmet. I chose it because A, it looks a little bit like the classic Doom helmet, and B, because I kept misreading it as Argent.
Stanky ass big toe I heard oil! That shit is mine!
As for the body, I looked at the concept art of Chief from Halo 2, seeing how the Praetor suit can be molded into the same language of the UNSC, which I will talk about more later. In reference to the Eternal and Dark Age designs, I added spikes on the gauntlets and boots of the armor. Originally intended to be bolt studs, but I thought the spikes looked better and fit more with Flynn's personality. Now, before we get to the backstory and lore of Flynn and the rest of the Spartans, I have to say something. I am not a Galaxy Brain Halo lore nut who can tell you the difference between, the differences between the Magnum variations, and tell you when they were each manufactured and by what companies in the universe they were made by, and what story the different variations appeared in, and also which one Sergeant Johnson shoved up in Elite's ass. I'm a fucking moron who's still reading through the basics. That being said, I'm going to at least try, keyword try, to make the backstories of these designs fit in with existing Halo canon. Now, if there was anything I got wrong with these stories, you could shove it up your ass. Comment down below what changes would fit better. Especially if you're an actual Halo lore nerd and not like me who's a borderline poser. Lance Corporal Flynn 666 was extremely close to being discharged from the Spartan 2 program, several times. During his augmentation procedures, his limbic amygdala, insula, anterior cingulate cortex were severely damaged due to improper installation of his neural interface. The damage caused him to be highly aggressive and have bouts of uncontrollable rage. Reports claim that Flynn constantly got into fistfights with other Spartans, ODSTs, and even tried to fight an officer. Despite his rage and brutality, he was still trained at the request of Senior Chief Petty Officer Franklin Mendez. Trained to specialize in shock and awe warfare against the insurgent compounds and simulated battles, he took the blunt approach and shattered the opposing team's defenses, and proceeded in wiping them out in a flurry of QCQ and gunfire. During the Human Covenant War, Flynn, alongside another Spartan named Arlene 511, was assigned to work with Fireteam Fox under Lieutenant Joshua Weems, performing infiltrations and sabotages against large Covenant warships and heavy cruisers. With Flynn's shock troop training, Fox were able to sabotage 4 Covenant heavy cruisers. Things turned sour when Flynn was assigned to a planet-side infiltration of an invading ship. The Covenant battlecruiser was stationed above the civilian colony. He was assured by Lieutenant Weems that the colony had been evacuated beforehand. So, using a well-placed plasma grenade in the ship's arm cache, managing to completely disable the ship. Flynn and the rest of Fox team managed to escape the ship before its plasma modules detonated in the crash, taking out half the colony alongside the ship. During the after-action briefing, despite his lieutenant's assurances that the colony was evacuated, Flynn learned that he was responsible for the deaths of at least 1,200 civilians who didn't evacuate in time. Flynn flew into an unyielding, uncontrollable, and lethal rage. He stomped through the ship, either shoving, squatting, or even punching Marines who tried to stop him out of the way, ending getting into a small fistfight with Arlene 511, in which he simply threw her out of the way. Events are hazy after this. The official report is that Flynn broke into the command center and incapacitated Lieutenant Weems, assaulting him with brute strength. Rumors state that he tore Weems in half with his bare hands. Either way, Weems was grievously injured, but alive, and the command center was torn apart, and Flynn was arrested, put into cryostasis, and sent to Oni for a military tribunal. After a long and extensive court-martial hearing, Flynn 666 was reassigned on guard duty, stationed on the Phobos penal colony. The fact that he was stationed to guard a penal colony was not lost on him. He got the message loud and clear. He was unofficially washed. During his time on Phobos, he was assigned Daisy, a non-volatile AI to act as his therapist for his trauma during the incident. The AI chose to form the take of a small rabbit to not appear threatening to her patient. His stint on Phobos was a long and boring one. His only form of recreation when not on duty was the training facilities on the Chiron TL-34 orbital platform, the only place where he was allowed actual combat equipment. Otherwise, he'd just rather sleep in his cryopod. On October 20th, 2552, all that changed when the High Prophet of Regret invaded the Sol system. Covenant ships ruptured out of slip space near Mars, with the goal of glassing humanity's closest industrial centers as shipyards. What they weren't counting on, however, was a pissed-off Spartan with home field advantage. This was actually the first character I thought of for this project. I was looking through some Spartan designs for inspiration for an unrelated thing I was doing, saw Olympia Vale, and thought, wow, she looked a lot like Samus. And I went from there. As you can see from the time-lapse, I initially had the helmet look more angular and square. I was following the UNSC design language a bit too literally, I felt. What was that design language? Well, the UNSC typically features mostly blocky, solid, and rigid shapes with sharp angling and heavy industrial detailing, reminiscent of the works of mechanical designers such as Yutaka Izubuchi. Though the designs may be blocky, nothing is a brick. Even the spaceships, which look like giant gray rectangles from the side, have sweeping angles, visual flow, and mechanical detailing with different shapes of language underneath the angular armor plating. That being said, I didn't like how angular the helmet design was. So I took inspiration from the CQB helmet from Reach, the ODST helmet, and the Recon helmet. While I made the top of the helmet more round, I tried to avoid any organic looking shapes. Same thing with the torso and shoulders, especially the shoulders. I changed the sphere-like shapes from the original design to a more cylindrical, rigid design. The element of this design I had to ponder most was their arm cannon. Now Halo does have some over-the-top stuff, bordering on silly sometimes. But, you know, it's the rule of cool, and this is really goddamn cool. Now I wanted to give Sam an actual arm cannon, but also have it fit in with the Halo universe. My idea was to have her steal a Hunter's assault cannon, but yeah, them fuckers big. And another idea was to give her a Gatling gun arm, sort of like the hunting Mark 1 armor. After doing some back and forth with some friends, I decided to have a cybernetic arm with a smaller version of a Spartan laser mounted to it. One of the ideas I had was that she could swap out the mountain gun to use different weapons, a reference to the different cannons Samus used in the Prime series. I am turning on my goddamn AC because it's way too fucking hot under this blanket. Born on a mining colony at K2L in the Zebes system, an outer colony, she was 3 years old when the colony was invaded by Covenant forces. In the ensuing attack, she was placed onto a UNSC transport ship by her parents, who were killed when the planet got glassed. Orphaned and alone, she was placed under Oni care and conscripted to be a Spartan 3. During her training, she was cold, focused, and unrelenting, unlike her fellow trainees who, while also dedicated, were also very aggressive and chaotic at the start. After her training was complete, her augmentations and enhancements were implanted. She was given a set of semi-powered infiltration armor and assigned a beta company. From there, she did the impossible. She survived more than one operation. From there, she was reassigned under Fire Team 07, under the command of Sergeant Major Adam Malkovich, alongside 5 other Spartan 3s. Under Fire Team 7, she, alongside her comrades, performed numerous high-risk and borderline suicidal missions and campaigns. During the battle for the Lusitania, she lost one of her arms when the ship's drive was detached and explosive bulkheads tore through her armor. Each time a mission was completed, more and more members of 07 went MIA against the Covenant meat grinder. As soon as Sam had gotten familiar with having the closest thing to a family, it was gone. She was all alone. Again. After most of Fire Team 7 was gone, Sam was reassigned to a new company, this time alone, at her request. Being a veteran in numerous missions, where she was only expected to last for one, she was sent to receive highly specialized commando training. At the end of it, she received her new custom-spec Mark V Mjolnir armor. The Varia-class Mjolnir was built for unsupported missions into enemy lines, with heavy protection around the neck, head, and shoulders, as well as short excursions into hazardous combat zones such as outer space and high-temperature regions. The complexity of her missions also heavily increased, going from infiltration missions to asset retrieval and assassination, often deploying right into Covenant ships to take leaders hostage or even detain them for Oni interrogation.
Okay, this thing's ridiculous. Where's the off button? There we go.
A funny thing that struck me when I was playing Halo 2 is that Halo 2 and Half-Life 2 released in the same year, 2004. I guess it was just a killer year for video games. Anyways, I digress. This design was sort of a culmination of all the HEV suits that we see in Half-Life 1, and its HD model pack that was released alongside Blue Shift, as well as the HEV suit seen in Half-Life 2. I just smooshed all the designs together and added Halo's design language. Honestly, despite coming from two different universes, I find that the designs of the HEV and Mjolnir armor line up pretty well. Maybe because they came from the same era? I don't know, it's interesting to think about. If I were to put these into 3D models in the future, I would totally put the long jump module in the back of the Spartan. The most difficult part for me is the helmet. Well, it's always the most difficult part because I always start with it. But here, I was really trying my best not to make it look like one of those old Space Marine helmets from 40K, or Tahu's mask from Bionicle, with the front grill plate. If you do want to see Tahu as a Spartan, however, watch Warren Sage's video on it. He's a major inspiration for this video, and these designs in general, in case you haven't noticed. In the future, I do want to do designs I hasn't done yet, or if I can, provide my own spin on things. But simply put, I just don't want to step on his toes. He makes good shit. You know, just putting the spotlight on smaller creators. Back on topic, the helmet itself was based on, of course, the Hazop and Hazard armor set from Infinite. Getting the right balance between armor and mobility for this one was crucial, as the HEV itself wasn't really built for combat. It's a high-tech radiation suit after all. A high-tech radiation suit that could hold enough firepower to take on an entire army. Twice. Combat Engineering Specialist, Gordon 505, is a Spartan 2 that, due to his high scores in intelligence quotient testing, was chosen to participate in Lambda, an experimental blend of nootropic supplements that was surgically implanted into different parts of Gordon's brain, alongside the other standard Spartan enhancement surgeries. The Lambda experiment proved fruitful, but ultimately was shelved, as Prastacaster was already in effect, and determined to be far more vital, UNSC and ONI. Despite the Lambda group disbanding, Gordon was trained alongside his other Spartan brethren to handle highly complex technical equipment, endure highly toxic and hazardous combat zones that could prove fatal to even to other Spartans, and hack into and handle Covenant equipment. Rumors state that he was one of the first Spartans to be given the prototype energy shield module. That became standard issue for the other Spartans. Serving under the Beta 5 division of ONI, when not performing his protection duties, Gordon was often assigned to test highly experimental weapons, such as the prototype Tau XVL-1456 plasma cannon, their predecessor of what would become the Spartan laser. One of his personal prototypes, one that sadly didn't make it to see the light of day, was the zero-point energy field manipulator, or simply put, the gravity gun. Near the tail end of the Human Covenant War, Gordon was stationed on UNSC research vessel Santa Black Mesa. The team on it were working on a new prototype slip space drive using recovered Covenant data and recovered borer drives. During the activation process, when Gordon was sliding in the main fusion power core, the drive activated on its own and overloaded all the systems on the ship. The Santa Black Mesa made a sudden jump into slip space, and ended up right in the middle of the Covenant fleet. And as you can clearly guess, this was a terrible situation to be in.
Get that motherfucker!
As one of the few remaining Spartans on board the Mesa, Gordon quickly got to work. He ushered in all of the scientists and their data to the escape pods, and started to take on Covenant forces that were aboard the ship, and even had to contend with only Black Ops that were trying to sabotage the ship, destroy data and personnel, and finally the ship's AI under the Cole Protocol. As the scientists and agents began to enter the emergency pods, Gordon chose to instead board one of the Covenant cruisers and hijack it to pave a path and provide cover fire for the few survivors as the Genesis off into space. Reports state that the only weapons he brought with him on his final infiltration was the crowbar and gravity gun. Hey, it's me again. I'm going off script for this one. Thank you a lot for watching the video. I've been worked hard on this one, and sorry for taking so long for it. I've been busy in the background making all this sets and stuff. Fancy, huh? Anyways, feel free to comment down below if you have any ideas for future videos and stuff. I may take into consideration. Alright, this is UAP, signing off.
United Artists Productions.